Guys, this is JYoungGo2 back with a video. I can't really say another video because it has been a while since I made a video, and it's just been life and many things going on. Tough times. But if you saw the title of this video, then you can process information, which is good for you. And if you know that today I'm going to be discussing the Golden State Warriors, and watching that game the other night, unfortunately, I was at work, so I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but I was able to watch the third and fourth quarters of that game, basically once it got to halftime. So I wasn't able to see the first whole half, but going back and looking at the highlights and things, the Kings basically got their revenge. First off, speaking, the Kings, they got their revenge in their series with the Warriors, because as you all know, they played the Warriors last year in the playoffs. And they did have a 2-0 lead to start that series, but then they blew it, and they let the Warriors come back, and Steph Curry, well, he just tapped into that Steph Curry magic that he does possess at times. And seeing what the Warriors did then in comparison to now, it's totally different. First off, one thing, Kevon Looney, I remember in that series, that one of those games, he just dominated the offensive glass. That wasn't really the case in this game for the Warriors, and the Warriors actually lead the league in rebounds, and they're one of the smallest teams in the NBA. But despite this point, just watching this game, the Kings, they dominated from the start pretty much to the finish. Each and every time the Warriors seemed like they were getting a little momentum, the Kings would always just have an answer right back to them. Keon Ellis stepped up really big for the Sacramento Kings, and he has done that for these past few weeks now, ever since they've had their injuries with Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter. Two of some of their most important players on the team, he's really stepped up and helped them out. And looking at what the Kings have just accomplished overall this year, and even looking at the Warriors, both these teams are really talented basketball teams. I mean, last year, for crying out loud, these teams were not even in the play-in tournament. That's just now how deep the Western Conference really is. Like, the Warriors had a 46-36 record, which is better than last year. But looking at them now, and they're not even in the playoffs now, which is actually crazy to just think about. And many of us have that really big question, with the Warriors. Is this really the end of an era for the Golden State Warriors? I mean, Klay Thompson in this game previously, man, he played absolutely terrible. He was 0 for, I believe, 10 from 3. He just had a bad game, no points at all scored. In a very, very important game like this, you got to step up in those moments more. And unfortunately, he did not. Granted, the Kings, they had a great game plan. I don't think anybody was expecting Keegan Murray just to constantly hit contested threes as he did, but he did. And of course, the Sacramento Kings did come out in a win. But looking at where the Warriors can possibly go, I remember even a play in the game when Draymond Green, he went for the ball and he ran out of bounds. It was like, man, it's just like in that moment, I thought to myself, oh my gosh, man, this is like watching an actual collapse just happen, for the Warriors. Like, everything that could go wrong went wrong for them. And now, seeing where the NBA is going, seeing the young talent, and seeing all the other teams really just catch up to them, it's crazy. The Warriors are one of those teams that really came out and really changed the game of basketball forever. And now teams are just now catching up to them and basically kind of using that print to now be even better as basketball teams. So one of the main questions, of course, many of us have with the Warriors is really what's next? What is next for the Golden State Warriors? Are they going to keep Klay Thompson? He's a free agent, so he can sign anywhere he wants. Are they going to deal Andrew Wiggins? And are they going to, of course, re-sign Jonathan Kuminga, because he definitely deserves that money, and he's played really well. Really, the Golden State Warriors young core this year and their rookies have all played really well for them. And for Steph, you look at Steph at his age, he's getting older. He's like 36, I believe now. He's not getting any younger. And luckily enough, he's still playing basketball at a very high level. But what are you going to do with him? What is his future with the Warriors? Because you don't want to just go ahead and have the rebuild button when you have a guy who is probably going to be there for the remaining of his career. He can also still play at a very high level. He's shown that. What are you going to do with that? the Warriors going to actually consider moving Steph Curry? You know, I can see Klay Thompson walking in free agency and really testing to see what his value is in the market, because the Warriors, they offered him, you know, that extension, and that really wasn't a lot of money during the regular season for him. And, you know, he probably wanted to bet on himself and see if he can play better. But the unfortunate reality is that Klay Thompson's just not that same guy that he once was. Let's just be real. We can't treat Klay Thompson anymore like he's still that guy. He's really, I'm not saying that Klay Thompson isn't that guy anymore, but he's really not that guy anymore at the same time. We can't put him in that category of guys that still are like, if you get him on your team, that may put you over the edge. It's not saying that Klay Thompson's a bad player. His numbers for the regular season were pretty solid, but he can be a really good six-man for your team. You know, unless he decides to come off the bench for the Warriors, which, you know, he did, or he decides to take a shorter contract with them, you know, because, you know, he wants to probably stay with Golden State as well for the remaining of his career, but you never know. You know, all good things eventually must come to an end, and that's what's showing for the Warriors. I don't see the Warriors moving Draymond Green anytime soon, because he helps them out in many, many ways. But with Klay Thompson, I can really see him leaving. They had the whole thing this year with Chris Paul, and, you know, he wasn't fully healthy this year for the Warriors, but he still played in a great number of games for them, and he definitely did help them in many ways, but it really wasn't a huge difference for the Warriors. As, you know, I was saying earlier, the Warriors are one of the smallest teams in basketball. They never really fixed that issue of them being a small team. They were still played that way, and nothing really changed for them. So the Warriors, man, they have a lot of questions they were going to have to answer this offseason when it comes to Klay Thompson. You know, I get it. The loyalty, he's been there with you guys for a long time. He's helped you guys win the 4 NBA championships. He's been a part of that journey since day one of the Warriors, drafting Klay Thompson, drafting Steph Curry, drafting Draymond Green. They've all been there through that process. They built this team, and it's hard to just say, hey, man, you know, I'm sorry, but we just got to part ways here. That's hard. You know, that's not going to be an easy thing to do. But the Warriors are really going to have to really think right now, while Steph Curry is still playing at his best, what are they going to do with this? Are they going to try to go out and still find the right pieces? Because when you look at the league and when you look at the evidence, it already shows that teams that take the risk, in a way, is gain the reward, you know, for the short term, especially when you look at the Lakers, when you look at the Dallas Mavericks, when you look at the Phoenix Suns, and when you look at a majority of these teams, they've had to sacrifice a lot of their future to gain instant gratification, basically, to be in a better position where they are now. So the Warriors are really going to have to decide on what they're going to do. Are they going to just play it out with these guys? Because it's really not working anymore. Draymond Green, reality is, though, he still may be a solid player, but he's not the same player. Klay Thompson, still a solid player, but he's not the same Klay Thompson either. And those guys were so important in that system, and still what they do now in Golden State. When you look at the young guys like Kuminga, Moody, Brandon, they got all these younger guys that are also on the rise as well. So the Warriors, they need to really make a decision. And I would trade you Andrew Wiggins as well, because he just played pretty bad for them. You know, this is just, he's dealt with a lot of off-court issues, which is understandable, but he's just not really been beneficial for the Warriors now. You know, it's really going to be interesting to see what is going to happen in the offseason. I'm looking forward to it and seeing, you know, what's going to happen there. If there's been reports about Klay possibly going to the Mavericks. Of course, you already know the Lakers. His dad used to play for the Lakers and all this stuff. There's many possibilities, and of course, I would get rid of Andrew Wiggins as well to get something better in return. You know, just as much as you can to just still help Steph Curry while he's still playing at a high level, because you don't still want to waste a guy who's still playing at a high level his time, a guy who's, you know, done it all for your team, the face of your franchise, and you can't even put him in a better situation. Now, this is honestly sounding like LeBron now, and back in his old days. But yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more basketball content each and every single week. Have a great day. Peace.